You're listening to the Hot Point Podcast, a commentary on all the hot points of life, hosted by Opeyemi Omojafo.
Hello and welcome back to the Hot Point Podcast, brought to you by your host, Opeyemi Omojafo. What's the hot point for this week, girls? Sister talks. All right, we've already been talking, we've already been drinking. Cheeky bit of Pink Moscato.
The one.
You can tell I'm a bit. What's the word?
Free.
Funky.
Like
Flowy. So we're just going to continue the conversation. You just pretend you're eavesdropping, innit? Continue.
What was I going to say? I felt like we were just saying how, sometimes...
Wait, darling, don't talk to the mic. Talk to us.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
yeah, but they need to know where we're at.
yeah, the backstory a little bit.
Oh, wait. So I've got my older sister here. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Theo.
And I've got my middle sister here, the one who recorded the hair podcast with me.
Hi, I'm Abigail.
And obviously you know me. Continue.
So we were just saying, we were giving a bit of backstory, and it's like, we were saying that as Christians, we are very much happy to be in long-term dating relationships, but we'd say our max is 3 years, because if we're dating to marry, what haven't you found out in 3 years? What have you not been comfortable in 3 years for that you want to prolong to like a 7-year dating relationship? Especially if we're adults in our 20s. For me, it doesn't make sense. I'm turning 23 this year, so imagine if I meet someone this year or next year. Let's just say next year I'm 24. You want to date for 7 years? I'm past 30. What's going on there?
What are you waiting for though?
Period. And I also think that, again, we were saying how...
That's a whole decade.
A lot of the Christians that we've seen get married, grow up around us, it's like they don't hold hands, they don't kiss, they don't call each other past 7, and they've been so championed for that. But you were saying, what again, Topsy, that it's not...
They glorify it.
I just feel like that's beautiful.
It's beautiful. They're very beautiful.
I feel like it definitely is beautiful if you've had that conviction, that
so beautiful,
like that goal to do that, and you've been able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like whenever we have conversations about we never kissed until our wedding day type of thing, we never held hands.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when we have conversations about that, we need to be a bit realistic and understand that's not everybody's story. That's not going to be everybody's case.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we kiss throughout, it's all about knowing yourself and your boundaries.
Yeah,
and like
100%.
boundaries aren't standardized. It's not a one boundary, one shoe fits all type of situation. You have to tailor it to yourself. And growing up, like, for me, it was always, I'm never going to kiss my man until the wedding day.
Lol.
Okay. Never going to kiss my man until my wedding day, and I want my first boyfriend to be my husband. I was like, and that was because I had grown up and I'd seen that, and I thought, wow, this is different, and I like that. Like, I want to go down that route because it's not common, and I think I can do that, and it'll be beautiful. But as I've grown up, I've just learned that just by myself, I've just like come to a place where I'm okay if that doesn't happen for me, because I don't want, what was supposed to be a talk about, something like, oh, we abstained from this, like, and it's an encouraging environment to now become like an unconscious pressure, because, if I'm telling them, oh yeah, like, I don't know, we did X, Y, and Z, people just judge, and it's like, oh, you did that, like, that's not, I didn't find that in the rule book type of thing.
Yeah.
And they don't really take into account just your individuality and your difference. So growing up, I'm okay if my first boyfriend isn't my husband, and I guess I'm okay if, as I'm getting closer with the guy, I think, yeah, I want to start kissing you. I don't think I'll do that soon, early in a relationship, but down the line, who knows? So long as we have boundaries and we know, like, what are we trying to do here? Like, what don't we want to end up doing? What don't we mind doing?
Sex.
Literally.
But then even with that, to cut you off, again, I've had the same... Well, my viewpoint growing up was that I'd already had my first kiss before I decided to take God seriously. But when I did, I was like, that's just not for me. I know who I am. I know I'm a very, like, touchy-feely person, so I know how to set boundaries for that. But for me, I didn't want to be like, I'm abstaining from holding hands or from kissing or from don't call me from 5 p.m. when the sun sets. That just wasn't a bit of me. But then
It's like jail. It's like dating jail to me.
But my thing is, that's for you. And my thing is, it's so beautiful if you can do that. That's the highest form of self-control. And I adhere to that. But it's not again, it's not a one shoe fits all thing,
Yeah,
and it's not
everyone's
a shunning thing if you didn't choose to do that. If that makes sense, like you should be glorified in all aspects of it. You should be glorified that you at least got to the point where you took this man down to the aisle when you guys got married. That is what is to be glorified. That you guys sealed, you sealed your relationship in the name of God. That's what's to be glorified. And I feel like if you grow up and you did have sex, not saying that. Okay, if you grow up and you did have sex, there is grace, but not saying that you should abuse that grace because you know that God will forgive you. You go and you have sex over and over again because you know there is a God. But if you grew up, you did set boundaries in place. But one thing led to another. You did something beautiful for you. You're out in public, so you didn't think you'd have sex in public, and accidentally you had sex in public because you were overcome by the feelings of the boy. And it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It's not even the 5 p.m. boundary you set.
That's
like
crazy.
you just don't know. And my thing is that when I was younger, I always used to think, how will it be when I get married? Because I've been taught that sex is bad. If I'm being completely honest, that sex is bad. You don't do it. So all of a sudden, I'm allowed to do it.
And then you hear stories about women, Christian women, who waited till marriage, then they got married, and now they're having sex whenever they feel like it.
And they feel like they're sinning.
And now they feel like they're sinning. They feel bad, and it's overwhelming for them. Mm-hmm. Is that not madness?
Do you know what? Yeah. We don't talk about this enough.
And then also, do you know what I never heard? I never knew that this was a thing until last year, and I used to still, I wasn't educated on this. I didn't know about this, and I thought it was weird until recently. Now I know it's like, okay, who cares? Like Christian couples who they know that they've been called to be married to each other, and whilst they're engaged or something, whilst they're in their walk together in a relationship, they're having sex, but then they still end up getting married. In my mind, it was like, whoever you had sex with, you're not getting married to them, because you've sinned with that person, so you can't get married to that person. And then when I started to hear stories about couples who God had told them this is your husband, and they were still having sex, and then they got married, I was like, oh wow, okay, so it doesn't matter. Like, this is people out here moving anyhow, and they're still getting married because God said this is who you're meant to marry. So that was something I learned just last year, and I'm 19. But anyway, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of people mess up because, or like, they give up on just trying to glorify God in any kind of way when it comes to relationships, because we don't talk about simple things like
we don't talk about it like it's normal,
about being horny. We don't talk about simple things like
horny.
We don't talk about your sexuality.
Yeah, 100%. And people only attribute your sexuality to LGBT, and it's like, that's not what sexuality is. LGBT is sexuality is finding out who you are as a woman,
feeling sexy,
feeling empowered,
beautiful,
knowing about yourself, knowing this is what this does,
not being insecure about it,
means. And I feel like if we made safe spaces where we were like, yes, okay, let's talk about this, and we didn't kind of shun people when they're, it happens. You can be watching a movie and all of a sudden you're feeling a bit tingly. You're feeling a bit tingly in certain places.
Keep smelling. And I think for me, I've made it such a thing to be. Is prude or crude the word? Not prude. Is it prude? I don't know.
Yeah,
prude.
I've made it a point to be crude, not prude.
Crude as in crude oil. It's prude.
Crude as in straight up.
Crude as in straight up.
Straight up.
Yeah, 19.
Anyway, you get the memo.
Yeah. So I've made it a thing to be really open with my sisters anyway, and to use words like, "Oh, your nipple is tingling," or like use words that are taboo, quote unquote, in the church. Just so weird. Okay, I feel like if people ever heard the way we speak to each other, they'd be like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
Like we.
Let's girls.
Pen will bleep this part out. But things that when I say you pussy I'm
not bleeping this out. I swear on this.
Okay.
Let's just keep it real.
Okay. So things like there's a song I used to sing.
I know.
Why you all over?
Yeah, why you all over my pussy boy? Because I don't want to be a pussy girl.
Do you know what? To this day, do you know what angers me about that? I brought that to school, and apparently I wasn't the one that coined that. I was the trendsetter. Yeah. Just all of you listening, I was the trendsetter for that. Continue. It came from the Jaffos.
So things like that, I do that very strategically because I'm like, I knew what it was like to grow up and feel like everything I did was a sin. Everything I did was a sin. I looked at a boy and that was a sin. I remember the one time I even told Mom I liked a boy and we were kind of cool, so she ran to his house. It was just peak.
That was a bit mad. That was
No,
nonsense.
like, and it's funny because the world, like, outside of Christianity, outside of the church, and like your godly family,
so liberal.
it's there.
Everyone's so open.
And you're thinking, right, I'm
It's
feeling that,
normal.
so they must have the answers since my church doesn't.
Even
And then,
like wearing tight clothing or feeling confident, showing my body, I felt like I was doing something wrong.
It's like, no, because the men in the church were saying it.
Exactly.
And I feel like we don't have like balanced conversations,
No.
like,
Yeah.
proper conversations about that.
So
Where we
I'm-
look at
I'm
both
ready to
sides
flip
we
and
try
shake the
to
table.
really understand like where we're coming from, and then now what does this mean? Like, God is love. Okay, what does this mean? You know, we just kind of make rules and we want to control people. Out there in the world, they accept you for who you are.
100%.
Like, that's
what
why a
I'm
lot
all
of people
about.
just honestly can't be bothered.
Because it's so much easier to be like, why are you restricting me? And the thing is, it's a lot of man's ideology, not a lot of God's ideology.
100%.
Honestly.
Like, it's such a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Like, you will go to different churches sometimes, and it's your skirt needs to be over your knee.
Or you can't wear jeans.
Yeah, and it's
That
like
was a bit
in the
mad.
other church it was fine. You know, there's so much confusion and like what's okay. I don't know. You know, am I going to heaven?
Yeah.
Does God love me type of thing? And like even a lot of people like have grown up watching porn, masturbating. It's not.
And that was me, girl.
100%.
And in church they tell you it's not a normal thing, but it is a normal thing.
It's a
Because
normal
everybody
thing
does
to
it.
grow up and be interested in like sex and interested in like, you know, the things that you're seeing, because everyone comes across porn somehow.
Exactly.
Well, a good majority of people, and so you're thinking, wow, what are they doing? Why am I feeling like this? And then you go in deeper and deeper, and you get to
You
that
think
place
you're
where
not normal for
you've
doing
learned
that.
about yourself in such a way. But I feel like if we got to a place in churches where we didn't wait to talk about sex and masturbation before it was, I need
It's
to
wrong,
confess.
it's not
I need to
normal, you
confess
shouldn't
to
be doing
you.
that.
Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about our body parts.
I would love to host conversations like that.
Literally.
And guys, we had this conversation before. We need to get on this. We just need to do it.
I think it's us three ourselves. We've had many conversations about. We just need to do it because I feel like we're so real,
Yeah.
and I think
that's right.
we're three different girls
Yeah.
who are all Christian,
Literally.
but I think we even
We're
represent
so
the different
different.
types of Christian that there are out there
Yeah,
in the world. I really do.
100%.
Because I'm a very like tattoo, piercing, very liberal like Christian. I'm raw about it. I've been through the masturbation, the porn,
She's
the,
real, guys.
the
She's
LGBT. Like I'm just like I don't know. Some people say I'm the chewed up, spit out person. I don't know, but like I've been through a lot, and I feel like all us three individually, we are a different viewpoint of what I don't know. What I'm trying to say of what like Christianity.
We bring different views and perspectives to your walk with Christ.
Yeah.
Because everybody's walk with Christ is different, but
Yeah.
everybody tries to do the same walk with Christ, even though we're all different people.
It's
And
so true.
that's what I don't get. Like, one thing that I always say, my sister said to me that stuck with me is live your truth. Why are you
Yeah.
pretending for other people?
Yeah.
And since that day, I've been moving what some people might think is reckless.
But you've been
But
being
to
your
me,
true self.
I'm living my life as I want to live it.
Yes. God made you differently.
And I
You're
agree.
right, yeah.
My walk with Christ is what it is.
And I would say that what we are doing, like in between each other, and what we would want to see and like do with other people, is what hasn't been done to us. Like the things that we feel like we missed out on, that we would have appreciated and we would have known would have helped us. That's why like we're so open and we talk about things like sex with each other, so open
Yeah.
with sexuality, and then like when it comes to other people,
They're like, oh, I wish I
Like-
had your relationship with sisters. I wish I could speak so openly. But it's like no one taught us to do this.
yeah,
No one said, you know, we weren't forced to do it. Our mum would always say, I want you guys to have a good relationship. And by the grace of God, that just happened.
Yeah, because it's not like, not to like put anyone on blast, but it's not like we've seen like in our family anyway,
Yeah,
like good examples of sibling relationship.
Yeah.
But any relationships, actually.
I feel like we just
I said it.
Wow!
Yeah, I said it. That's right.
Wow.
we just a bit.
Look at his flowing.
Yeah, like we've all been through, literally liquor courage. Liquor courage. So we've all been
courage.
through a lot, like as three sisters, and I feel like it could have went left. Like
Yeah.
we just
Oh, we're
honestly-
all right.
okay. So like we could have ended up in a completely different place where, like Theo said, we're all completely different people.
Yeah.
And I feel like one time we asked each other, if we weren't sisters, would we be friends?
Stupid.
If
To
we
this
weren't
day, I'm-
sisters,
you know, man.
would we be friends?
No.
Simon and Theo, would we be friends?
Well, you guys,
Yeah, like
no.
okay. Rebecca?
No.
Me, Abigail, we would not be friends.
Well, and that's how different we are.
So like,
That's why it's good that we're sisters.
It's
because
so true.
If we
It's so
didn't have
true.
friends like this,
We'd be adults.
Because
we'd be such people.
we've literally had to put up with each other and we've been forced to like see and understand each other in different
and
ways.
accept each other.
Yeah. So, I guess that point's been made. But what was I gonna say?
Christian perspectives.
Like when it comes to things like masturbation, sex outside of marriage, etc., etc. I feel like because it's such a secret thing, like
It's not even
everybody.
secret because it's out there in the world. It's just
it's
but
such
in
a
terms
don't
of
speak about
it's
it.
ignored.
it's not normal to talk about and like if you're in church and it's after church and there's like 3 girls talking about it, people will be like, "Ooh, what are they talking about?"
I love to have a good sex talk.
You know,
we should
and
start
so-
sex and all that. You know, love and so what? Sex and so what?
Maybe we should let Abigail finish her point.
Yeah, thank you. And so like in general, just in terms of like human nature, we're very curious people. Like like our parents don't touch the chicken in the pot when nobody's there. What are we doing with yamming chicken in the pot? You're not allowed this. What do? We go and look out for it. Like when it comes to human nature, we do what we're not supposed to do. We do what like we go against the grain type of thing, and like we're so curious. If we're told you're not allowed to do it, what we're gonna do? We're going to do it. We're going to try our best to get as close to the line as we can.
But that's basic human instinct. You
Exactly.
learn by doing. So
But also, just from my background of like studying children and doing children's studies and whatever, just life studies, like I've learned that when you're a baby, when babies and toddlers find their genitals, they play with it. They don't know it's masturbation, but they play with their parts. That's what happens. Sometimes as well, if you guys research, babies can actually like have orgasm, but they don't know what they're doing, and it's a very innocent thing, and it's us that makes it the taboo, if that makes sense. But
because you sexualize everything that has legs.
But I just think that's also a microcosm of what happens when we're adults. Like like you're innocently discovering yourself, and and instead of someone to be like, okay, this is what the word of God says in regards to that, what you did isn't wrong because you didn't know about it, but now you are aware this is how it will be wrong.
This is how we do things.
Yeah.
How we
Instead of
think.
just like, you're like, this is wrong. Yeah, this is, I'm on me. Oh, damn, masturbate. Like, and then it's like, geez, like I'm a sinner. Like, but this feels great, and no one's explained to me why it's wrong. No one sat down with me and made me feel.
My mother.
No one sat down with me and made me feel like, okay, this is normal. I used to do this. You feel like you're the only person on this planet that is touching yourself.
Literally.
You feel like one worry.
You just
One dirty worry.
when what you need to feel like is actually everybody has done it.
Like you're a human being, like you're
Everybody's
emotional,
doing the
you have
same thing.
a sexual part
Yeah.
to you, you have a social part to you, a mental part to you.
Honestly.
Like, and what I was saying in terms of like, we're curious about what is a secret, what we're not usually allowed to do.
Come on, the
I
forbidden
thought-
fruit.
Yes, literally.
Hey,
The
read your
forbidden
Bible.
fruit.
Okay, we'll read your
Oh
Bible.
my god.
Are you ready, home?
Look at you.
Sometimes.
So it's like if it's something that became normal to speak about in churches and to address, then maybe we would grow up thinking, yeah, I know all about that. I'm not interested, too tough. Like I know about it. It's not curious and like, and what's that word, like so intriguing to me to take that next step and then like I'm not that curious, and I'm not gonna take that next step and then that next step and then end up all the way there because like I know about it and it's like
I mean, like we weren't all curious Georges.
And then you can make an informed decision.
Exactly.
What you choose next to do is make an informed decision. Now you know what the word of God says, you know what happens out in the world, but if you identify as Christian, you've accepted God into your life, you've accepted him into your heart, you now make an informed decision. The next steps you do now are either the choices of, okay, I'm going to sin knowingly, or actually, I know this is going to be a hard walk, but actually the reward for abstaining is so much greater.
yeah.
And like, isn't that just a basic thing that Christians are meant to do? We're meant to spread the word, spread the information.
with love.
Because that's all we're meant to do, and that person can go and make the decision for themselves. As Christians, we need to be spreading the right information, the information
The right way as well.
exactly that will help people and not hinder them.
And
That they'll be dealing with trauma and repressed things when they're older,
Yeah, and I just want to say big
and
up,
wasting money on therapy.
big up to my church, my university church, Gospel Collective. Absolutely love them. We had talks about sex, and I feel like we used to have small groups where they would invite us to their house, and we used to have like girls and boys sessions split. And I think we even had a mixed session, and they would talk about sex in detail, masturbation. We talked about sexuality. We talked about I think that was the first time we had a real, raw, honest conversation. All things off the table. We had somebody who was in their 50s plus who had sex but had never got married, but that's due to choice. We had a married couple. We had a young single person. And it wasn't even like, here's a panel, ask them questions. It was like, we're all equals.
That's daunting.
We're all equals. We can have a discussion, but here are 3 people who represent different aspects. So
I think that's great, because I get, sometimes churches may decide to do these things for us. They may decide to put on like an event where we're talking about marriage and love and being a Christian woman, but it's like, okay, we're gonna put a panel together. They're gonna sit on a high stage, and you guys have to ask them questions in front of everybody. In a like, what's the word?
Just in a public setting.
Honestly,
and then it's
very
like
nerve-wracking.
If you ask questions like, "Is it right to masturbate?" Everyone looks like, because it's like,
"Ooh,
we know you're doing the nasty.
You ain't right."
Ooh.
And you know what? That's kind of happened to us before. Like, I think there was a time where they were praying, like, the things I respect, like the environment and whatever. They're like,
that's what they're trying
if you
to
suffer
do.
from this, like masturbation, watching porn, you're struggling.
And I hate that.
Stand up. And the thing is, like, in that moment, I didn't care. I was like, okay, it is something I want to get help with. So I got prayed for and, encouraged in that moment. It was great. And then I felt like, great, okay, I couldn't care less. I stood up in front of people. Like, it was for me type of thing. But then afterwards, like, one of the guys, like, in our youth groups, like, one of, like, the peers, he made a joke about it. And I was like, all right, I did deep, like, it just wasn't like, I don't know how to, I feel like in churches we do need to be a bit more considerate with like safe spaces. Like if you're going to talk about things like modest dressing, let's do that in a loving way, in a safe environment where girls can like really just talk how they want to talk, and you guys aren't getting aunties that are just blinded by culture and nothing else.
And I
just
know you speak to people our age as
that.
well. Like, I get you want to have an older perspective, but I'd like to speak to someone my age as well that's on the same walk as me. We've grown up in the same decades. Like, how are you experiencing this?
I also get that if we look at it from, let's take out our church, for example. If we look at it from our church, how many on-track Christians around your age do you know that can be doing things like that?
It's true.
None, but it's not, I'm not saying I want to speak to someone who's on track. I just want to speak to somebody my age so I can feel like, okay, I'm not going through this alone. I'm not alienated. I want to have a real conversation like, yeah, we're struggling with this and it's mad.
I completely hear that, but then where do you go from that if no one's on track with their Christian walk? Then you get to a point where then we get to a point where we're both struggling. I've met someone who's also 19 who loves fashion, who loves Bottega and all of that. Now we're both struggling. How do you move from there? I don't know. Then you both end up going to the older person.
It won't get
it's like, cool, you want to meet people your age, but what you want to meet is somebody who's on track with their life. Maybe somebody who still struggles from time to time, but they know how to get out of it.
Yeah,
they're just making conscious decisions to sin. Yeah, like it's this thing that's why I love. Hey, look at me. Because me and this certain girl, at the time we had similar-ish struggles, but we both knew, we were both on track with our relationship with God, but we could relate because we really struggled and we really uplifted each other up. And at one point was so good at holding each other accountable. There'd be random times where we're both at uni or something or not even together, and she'd be like, I'm struggling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. I've been struggling for this past month. Okay, let's go and pray and fast together for a week. Things like that. We knew how to get out of it, but we were the same age, we were on the same path with our struggles, we were on the same path with our trajectory of where we were in our relationship with God, and we knew how to hold each other accountable. That's what you want. You want an effective relationship. You don't want to be with somebody who's like, hey, I don't know what the teacher asked me to do. Oh, neither do I. Okay.
That's literally.
Where do you have to go from there?
Banner.
Yeah, I hear that, and I feel like older people, like adults, will be scared to hear that, because a lot of like, even just adults in general, whenever they're trying to instruct a child in a way to go, they do it out of fear. And it's like that fear and anxiety that they have is it gets passed down to us, and we're like, okay, I just know not to do it, just don't do it. And then if it happens, it's like,
oh my gosh.
Oh my god, you did it.
Oh my gosh, I did
You
it.
broke the egg.
Oh my gosh, I did
It's
it. Like,
unfixable.
I'm not a human being again. I can't go to church again, or I might as well just go all the way because I'm just lost, type of thing. Or I can never. My mum will hate me forever, type of thing. I have to stay in a closet. Let me never come out.
You
You
see,
know?
when kids ask why, tell them. It's important.
I'm a firm believer in that as well.
Tell them.
I'm just a firm believer in being honest, and I think again that might be because of the way
You're raising an adult.
that might have been because of the way we grew up. Just seeing a lot of dishonesty in our family or like close circles, and seeing what dishonesty did to relationships and how it shattered things. And I think that's a lesson to be learned in every sector of your life. Like dishonesty, it just breaks things. It really does break everything down. And that's why, like my sister said earlier, I just used to say to her, be honest with who you are, because honesty is honestly the best policy. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, I don't care if your pastor thinks you should be here, you should be better Christian, you should be honest with who you are.
I'm currently reading the book The Purpose-Driven Life, and the past few days has been about
Rick Warren, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren, if you want to sponsor
Rick Warren.
Rick Warren, yeah, it's honestly like so good so far. I'm on like day 17, 16 with my friend, and the past few pages have been about like how we worship God, and I've been seeing like bullet points that I thought, wow, this is crazy. And it was just be yourself. In terms of worship, your taste of music is your taste of music. There's no pressure or anything. Like, be yourself. If you want to worship God in this kind of style, then you do that. At the end of the day, God made us different for a reason, and he wants to see that difference, glorify him in different ways. And your salvation is so personal. And like, people feel like the way, like the Bible even says we're not perfect and we're all gonna fall like time to time. So why do you think like trying to educate us out of fear is gonna stop that? It's not. You educate us and you teach us the way to go in love, and whatever happens. Like, our salvation is personal. It's between us and God knows that either way sometimes we're gonna fall, and that's okay. His love is so sufficient and so enough to like keep us going and keep us within him. And so there shouldn't be that judgment or that let me stay away from church and just, or not come back to church, or, you know, that look from the aunties or the pastor, or that sly reference that the pastor makes. Like, that's not love. We're honestly one big family, and God is love. I feel like when we start to consider God's heart more and less about us and our culture, like, things will be a little bit different. Like, we will start to just talk differently, talk out of love, and okay, you messed up, okay, there's grace.
Is killing my people.
Literally, like, there's grace for that. God loves you, and yeah, he doesn't condone that, but he didn't come to condemn you and ridicule you for doing that. So it's honestly, it's like, God is a safe space, the ultimate safe space. And sometimes, man, our culture gets in the way, our anxieties get in the way. Yeah.
And we just need to get back to the point of relation with God, like, and disenfranchise all of the ideologies that man, pastor, youth leader have put in place.
There's no
because
specific
that is
way
the reason
to
why
have
we're
a
scared.
relationship with God.
That's the reason why
I'm
we're
learning
scared.
that all right now.
Like, that's why we're scared. That's why we think we're sinning. That's why we think we're going to hell. Because man told us that.
100%.
Because I'm not doing this, because I'm not praying every day, because
I'm not praying the way
immoral.
That, you know, I'm not praying the way that you made me.
Because I'm not praising God every day. I'm going to hell.
Because you didn't do the 40 days praying with us. And it's like, you shouldn't, if you don't feel conviction, no, it's not shade, but if you don't feel personal conviction with God, my advice is don't operate in anything. Don't do anything.
That's crazy.
So, I 100% agree with that, girls.
Yeah, your salvation is personal, and no matter what people say, like, it's between you and God. So just be honest and real with him.
100%.
Yeah, like,
and your life is your life.
When it's you and God face to face in heaven, you know, that's your business.
And also, quickly, if you have questions, ask them. And
Don't be afraid.
If your leaders, your whoever's in an authority position of you cannot answer this question, go to God. And again, till you hear God say move, go, don't do anything. That is honestly it changed my whole outlook on doing things out of doing it sake and pleasing man. Because if we're supposed to be doing this for God, you just think, oh, I've lost my point because we're running out of time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but you get my point, hopefully.
Get your point. And Google things. Honestly, there are some really good resources like John Piper, like other things on the internet, so you're not alone.
Yeah.
thank you for having this random discussion with me, girls. This is what
Paused
this was
our
not
movie.
the planned discussion we were supposed to have, but it just happened. But yeah, if you guys have any comments to make, obviously comment down below. Get in touch with me if you want to share any points. If there are any topics you want me to discuss, then obviously let me know. If you want more of this random sister talk, let me know. You
Here's
know.
my ticket back home and let her know.
Anyways, so child.
Talks with Pink Moscato, honey. Sponsor us.
Literally.
Yes.
Barefoot,
Yes.
Pink Moscato.
We only drink pink in this household. But
Okay.
but yeah, so that's this week's random talk. I hope you lot enjoyed. Stay tuned for next week's episode.
Bye.
Peace out, brethren.
Bye.
Peace out, saints.
And ain'ts. Don't copyright us, Jackie.
You're listening to the Hot Point Podcast, a commentary on all the hot points of life, hosted by Opiemi Omojafo.